Hi, everyone.
Greetings. We're doing the tract, The Cost of Discipling, and you can find that tract on our website, onewonders.org. Can't get used to that somehow. It's got to have JW in it somewhere. onewonders.org. And you can find this tract, and we're now on pages, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 3 and 4 of that tract. We're in the subhead Cost of Competence. We've already dealt with the cost of incompetence, and we've been charging the Watchtower with incompetence. And maybe it would be easier to remember the charge if you know the three words we associate with this incompetence, or with the opposite, which is, of course, competence. And those words would be purity, palatability, and potency. And how do we apply that when it comes to the Watchtower world? Well, it would be bad enough if the only problem with the Watchtower was lack of purity. In other words, if they had generally good food that was tainted somehow with poison. Now, we all kind of know, if we've left the Watchtower or are on the verge of leaving or trying to leave, that there's a purity problem. There's things in there that just don't jive with Scripture, and certainly don't jive with your spirit if you have doubts. But it's worse than that, because then you find out there's more than just a purity problem. There's the potency problem, which is you don't have enough food. Now, you think you're well fed, and of course, what feeds that deception is that you're taught that the organization is the only one on earth that feeds people well. You're the only people who have true spiritual
You have no
food.
comparison for it.
That's right. So we'll get to it in a minute, why that passes. But there's a purity problem. It's tainted to begin with. There's a lack of potency. That is, the food you're getting is not enough. The faithful and discreet slave is not doing its job. It's not feeding people even pure food, or food that is enough in terms of, well, the analogy goes on, carbohydrates, proteins, etc. You're not getting enough of what you need. What is enough? And that goes to these verses from the Apostle Paul in a very famous speech that you've heard before. But now let's apply it to the Watchtower. This is Paul speaking to the Ephesian elders, Acts 20, verses 26 and 27. Therefore I testify to you this day that I am innocent of the blood of all. Now, we've all had that thrown at us as being our charge if we're Jehovah's Witnesses, right? Why is he innocent of the blood of all? Because I did not shrink from declaring to you the whole counsel of God. When we were declaring our JW goodness, we were never declaring the whole counsel of God. We were declaring what amounted to a collection of proof texts that were pre-digested for us, and then we passed on to the public. The whole counsel of God, Paul did this in 3 years. And we know how that works because we have the analogy of the Jewish synagogue, where they had a 3-year Bible course. You don't have a Bible course. You study a book, and everything in it is a selection of texts, usually 1 or 2 verses.
Yeah.
So you're not getting the whole counsel of God. So there's a potency problem in that you can't possibly have more than a starvation, a survival diet, when you're not getting the whole counsel of God. Then there's the purity problem, which means that a lot of what you're getting, because of the fact these people are incompetent, the leaders are incompetent, the shepherds don't know what to feed you, they're not capable of feeding you.
Yeah.
So of course you're going to get poison in the diet regularly.
Yeah.
But
So
why does it pass?
Yeah, I think when you use the food analogy, and you think the person who makes the meal has to be competent. They have to know what you need to eat. So that would be the first thing. They have to be competent cooks. Then they have to know what is nutritious, so what foods to pick.
So they can't just be good chefs. They have to be nutritionists.
Yeah, they have to be nutritionists as well. They have to know what is important for you to get in your meal. And they can't be deceptive about it. They can't just make it seem like it's good for you that because you like it. Because if you add a lot of salt or if you add a lot of sugar, a lot of food becomes palatable to you, and you think it's good. It tastes good. It's what you want, but it's not good for you. It doesn't actually do your body good. The reason why people don't catch on to this quickly is because you feel full when you eat even junk food, fast food. You feel full for a time, and you liked what you ate, so you feel
you enjoyed it. That's
yeah,
for
there
sure.
was an appeal to it. But and you don't always get the side effects immediately to poor eating.
Habits, yeah.
So you might be getting fat. You might feel healthy enough, like you're not starving. But later in life, you start to pay the penalty of not having had good food.
So
your body starts to deteriorate.
Yeah.
So it hurts you. It actually hurts you. And the reason they got away with it was the deception of making it taste good.
Yeah, who wouldn't enjoy a regular meal of a hope that involves you personally and your family surviving the end of the system of things, as you think of it, into the new order within your lifetime, and while you're still young, because it's never 20 years ahead or 200 years ahead, it's always just ahead.
Yeah.
So who wouldn't respond to that message and think they were getting something that was good?
Yeah.
And the answer is only time will test whether it's good or not. That is, it's tainted already. You don't know that because you, of course, have only experienced your youth at this point.
Yeah. So this message that appeals to your senses, it sounds like a really great promise. But if it's not true, it's going to hurt you in the end. It's a deception.
And the worst thing, of course, is it's not the whole counsel of God. The gospel in the New Testament and in the Old is never, you're going to experience this in your lifetime. Yes, there's lots of promises of a paradise for the Jews in books like Isaiah. There's lots of promises, but it's never just ahead. You might have to go through many tribulations, as Paul puts it, later to get there. But that's the hope you have. The hope is in the resurrection, not a survival of Armageddon. As is in the Watchtower, it's always surviving Armageddon into God's new world. But in the Old Testament, it's always, this is the hope of the resurrection, in case you should die in this life. The day of the Lord is always ahead. The judgment is always ahead. There's not dates put to it, though, in the Old Testament. That's a very big difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we wanted to read the tract. I'm going to be reading it. We're going to be reading it from the screen. This is the cost of competence subsection. If incompetence costs us thus dearly in division, in waste, in unfruitful, even futile efforts, what is the cost of competence? Let us consider first what might be considered competence in discipling others. First, the purity of the provision we place on the table. If the table we set for consumption is contaminated, it matters not one whit if we be the greatest cooks in all creation. We might even succeed in making what is essentially unpalatable into the most irresistible of dishes. Second, the palatability of what we present for public consumption. If our culinary confections are not suitably cooked, dressed, and spiced, the nutritive value of our offering might be for naught. Few will wish to test our offering if the first taste is unsavory. Third, the potency of the meal we offer. Delicious food cannot create healthy people. Protein, carbohydrates, vitamins can. And let us not forget minerals and trace elements which we all need to enjoy vibrant health. Who is competent to create a balanced diet?
In the Western Church, we have learned to subsist on the most restricted of diets. We are satisfied with quelling hunger pangs rather than achieving good health. We mistake motion for life, emotion for vitality. While our diet is, by habit, deficient of many of the building blocks of good health, the whole will of God, the faithful pastor, Paul, fed his flock. We cannot hope to avoid the constant threat of impurity, unpalatability, and impotency in our efforts at evangelizing and discipling. What can we do to protect ourselves and our spiritual dependence? First, let us evaluate our sources and resources. Most people in Western democracies get their information from the media, especially television and internet. Most of their opinions about everything are filtered and controlled by the media. Their opinions and sentiments are also, to a great extent, controlled by their sources. If their sources are biased and unbalanced, so too will be those who depend upon them.
Well, this was written, 12, 15 years ago. It's a lot worse now.
Yeah.
In terms of dependence on the media.
Yeah. And listening to everything and everybody's opinion and giving it equal weight.
Yeah, we watched the book business, the Christian book business, die. We got involved in it too late, although we had a great time while we were doing it.
And we got our library doing it, so.
But most people we knew didn't assemble a library. They still were content with limited book resources, and now are totally dependent, most of them, on computers.
Yeah.
And this is a scary time, therefore, to live even for Christians. No wonder you see such apostasy and general feeble Christianity in the churches at large.
Weakening of the church.
Because we have become a post-literate Christian public. That used to mean books. We didn't even have TV evangelists when I started.
Yeah.
When we got into the book business, they had taken off, but there were no computers.
More and more reliant on someone else to do the work and to teach us or to tell us, and not enough time ourselves to feed ourselves and learn.
So again, this is the cost of competence, and we're going to get more into the details of that and show you some really good examples of not just competence but excellence in the subsequent videos we're going to do following this up. If you want to get an advance on that, check out the cost of discipling on the onewonders.org website in the PDF archive. What are our links?
We're linking one video, Ray Franz, We Need to Wrestle. JW's packaged food tends to inertia, stagnation. And that was from readings we were doing in Ray Franz's book, In Search of Christian Freedom.
See you next time.